This episode is powered by 30th, your go-to for game-changing sleep recovery. Imagine hitting your workouts harder and waking up feeling unstoppable. That's what 30th's PM Recovery Collagen does for me. It's like pre-workout, but for your sleep, fueling your body's active recovery processes without any melatonin or sedatives. Just one scoop before bed supports deeper, more restorative sleep so you can crush your fitness goals. Ready to experience the best rest and recovery? Visit thirdz.com and transform your nights into recovery power hours. Thirdz, because sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. That's THIRDZY.com. Save 20% with code JASONZZZ. Let's get into the show. It's that time of the year again, post CrossFit Games podcast. It was good to see you out there last week.
I enjoyed being out there. Congratulations to you, Mr. Champ. I get to call you
thank
that
you.
again.
Yep, another one. I'm actually working on my YouTube video with my reflections and thoughts about what it was like to navigate a 7th victory. This would be a very different video. All my other videos are like highlight reels and you know, kind of the excitement of it. But this one's different. So stay tuned. It's on my other screen. I have like 4 screens in my desk here. You know how this goes. But I'm currently editing the video on the other one, just kind of with thoughts about my experience of the competition. In our podcast here, we'll talk about our experience at the Masters Games last year, you and I, the ups and downs, all of those different things. And I'll probably do another YouTube video, not next week, but the week after, sort of talking about a little bit more in depth about the Masters CrossFit Games in general, you know, the outside of me.
Sure.
So, today, I mean, you and I, it's definitely time for us to, you know, talk about last week. And everything that we experienced. I mean, thank you for the congrats, obviously. We got to see a lot of our same people out there. All of our friends are out there. All the athletes we compete with every year. You're running around talking to everybody.
Look, because for once I'm on a plane. First of all, let me give a shout out to Southwest Airlines. I was telling you about this. From Chicago to San Jose, I think there were 7, 8 people involved with the games on the flight. It was great sitting around 8, maybe 9. I don't know. There were kids from these individuals. There were athletes. Shout out to Jen Dieter being there too. I mean, people from Northeast Ohio, people from Chicago, people from Florida, all kind of met in that Chicago airport and then headed out to San Jose. So just from that beginning, you knew it was going to be fun. And my point is I didn't have nerves like you guys did. Now I missed those nerves, but I was really excited to be out there and see everybody. And I tried to see everybody.
Yeah, I remember when I went to the Magic City semifinals, right?
Yes.
And I had already punched my ticket to the games. So just cool, calm, collected, and there to like observe and support and cheer on athletes. Like I had the same thing. I wanted to do all the workouts they were doing because that looked like fun. At the same time, just like not having any stress about it was, that just makes for a really fun way to attend an event.
Correct. Because normally you don't get to watch as many heats, I'm sure, as you would like to see. No. And here I just was constrained by a schedule. You know, yourself, Kim, a number of others. And I was more concerned about when everybody was going and then what else could I watch. And that was it. That's the way to attend an event for the folks that were out there.
This year was the 20th anniversary of the CrossFit Games. We were all back together in the sense that we were all in the same city. I think we were in the same zip code as the games. What are your thoughts from a athlete and spectator experience on that being together over this week? What was your experience of that?
Well, I didn't have the full experience like I believe you did because you watched some of the games. So I will say from just the time, and I wasn't even there for the full Masters. I had to leave Wednesday night. So full disclaimer, I personally thought it fell a little short. Being there in the same zip code was great because, for example, during the first event outdoor at the Arena Green, I'm having a conversation with Pat Sprague, catching up, and there's James, and he's chatting us up, and there's Director of Sport, Mr. Castro, over there talking to us, and it was great to be involved in part of that and see those folks that normally we wouldn't have seen in Birmingham or Columbus. But the fact that the teenagers and the masters and adaptives, and then the individuals and teams were all in some type of separate schedule, it would have been nice to be a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah,
I
it was, y- given the fact that you and I have both been to Madison and we
hmm
experienced that experience, and even though there was separation there schedule wise, you saw it felt like you saw everybody. It felt like this sort of cohesive, everyone is
hmm
together.
correct.
Everyone, you're going to see everybody in the vendor village, at the beer garden, or wherever. There's very social ways. Oh, North Park was always open to everybody. So
hmm
you'd watch Masters at
correct.
North Park, individuals, teams, everyone. And when we say Masters, I just want to say as a disclaimer, including when Rick, you and I say Masters, we mean teens and adaptive too. We just
Yes. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
talk Masters because that's in our minds, but really we could just lump the divisional
I'm
games
not
all
used to
into that.
saying divisional games. I
Yeah,
think that's the way they were labeling it.
yeah.
That. So I
And so
apologize.
Madison had that unique experience. This was not like that. We weren't on the same floor. We didn't compete on the same field. We didn't compete on the same street as we would in Madison. If North Park was North Park, we competed there. The Indies competed there, or in the Coliseum. This was it had this separation.
hmm
And just as a first point of contrast, I was trying to figure out. I was talking with Josh Boonstra, who was another Masters athlete that
hmm
was out there. I was trying to articulate like what there was definitely. I'm going to say this unscripted, right? And my first draft would be there was definitely a dullness about the venue. Maybe
hmm
that's that the divisional games were at Masters teens and adaptive. It was a dullness. And that dullness was, maybe there's just because there was one competition floor compared to two or three competition floors in Birmingham, two or three competition floors last year in Columbus. Now we have one competition floor. The stands were not in a great place. Like you just couldn't see your family, couldn't interact or anything. But I think what made that even more harsh was the contrast of
Correct.
what the SAP Center looked like externally. You have pillars wrapped in the games and games athletes and photos.
hmm
You go inside and it is just the 20th anniversary of the CrossFit Games. And during opening ceremonies, we did get to go into the SAP Center. I actually got to observe a day and a half of competition, so I saw some competition out there, and it was a full spectacle of production from the media, the screens. Everything is so bright and so produced,
Correct.
and to have that contrasted with what we experienced on the over at the convention center.
hmm
It was Josh helped me with the analogy. He was like, it's sort of like sharing a birthday party with a sibling, and one
Okay.
sibling gets a new car, right, and the other sibling gets a Lego set.
Okay.
Honestly, the one
They're
sibling
both
loves
gifts.
Legos. They
They're
love
both
Legos.
gifts.
I'm actually using my
Yeah.
son as an example. He loves Legos, but like the other sibling got a car. Like and it's not, and it was the contrast made it more difficult. Difficult is not the right word, but it helped
Contrast. The
the
contrast was hard to
contrast.
take
Yeah.
because you were in the same zip code. That's the thing, I think.
I think you
I mean,
nailed
you
it.
were right there.
Yeah.
Now, you said that one phrase already, or one term already. You said convention center. This is the third year in a row for the convention center for divisional games, if you will, adaptives and teenagers and masters. That I think this, if you're bringing us together, the secret sauce. Now, I was a fan and attended 2 games in Carson, and an athlete for 1 year in Madison. The key is the space allowed. You pull in, you pay for parking, or whatever, you get past a gate, and then everything inside there is connected. There's not this disconnect. So being in San Jose, great, we were all together, but we were still apart. And when Carson was, everything was walkable. Masters were back here or out on this field or in the tennis stadium, and the same with, we know the layout with Madison. Everything was in one large area. So can they kiss and make up with some of those places and do
Yeah.
it again, please?
And that was the other tricky part. And again, taking that a little bit further, like you said, once you were inside the gates in those other venues, you're in. Here, you had tickets to SAP Center, and you couldn't, even on a day like, maybe Thursday or even Wednesday, where people are arriving and they're like, hey, I just want to go check out the Masters. Like, we had a bunch of Boulder athletes that were there attending. They wanted to watch the CrossFit Games. They came over because they wanted to watch some Masters, but it was going to cost each one of them $100 a day
Yep.
just to
$100
get in the door, even
Yep.
though they've already paid X amount of dollars to SAP Center to go see the Indies, but they couldn't get in. And I actually had this experience where Kane Hayes, he's a Masters athlete that is in the 45 to 49-year-old division, third place this year. And he had a teenager that he apparently trains with every day. They wanted, as a family, to go cheer on this teenager. So he competes in the Masters game. The next day, the teens, he takes his family to go cheer on this teenager, $500 because he's got himself, his wife, and 3 kids. So it would have been $500 for him to walk through the door to go cheer on a teenager.
From just competing in the same venue 24 hours earlier.
So,
ouch,
and I understand these are all different organizations.
Business decision. Yeah.
That's just the taste on that guy's mouth is bad. Obviously he's very upset about that. And I was going back to the teenage that Thursday morning, and we had let them use our Normatec boots, and I was going to give them the chairs that we had used. Just, hey guys, you guys have these chairs, take them. And I had to sneak around security to get in as a vendor to give them like these 6 chairs that we didn't have any way of taking back or bringing home with us. Like, hey, just take this. I was like, I'm going to go give this. And they're like, you can't come through. I'm like, I'm going to go. I'm going. I just walked right through. But it was Fort Knox to get in there. But again, that's, we sort of talk about that contrast. I think athletes felt it. I think fans felt it. And I mean, honestly, for me, the thing that really got me frustrated, and this goes all the way back like 9 months ago. I don't remember when it was announced that all of the divisions will be in San Jose together, but it was announced during the 3rd podcast of the CrossFit Games podcast. They rebooted their podcast. Chase was on there. They're revealing this on there, and they have me as a guest. And I'm like, this is great. We're all together. And I do this podcast. It was really fun. And literally later that afternoon, I read the fine details. I was like, oh, we're not together. We're in the same
We're in the
area.
same city. Yeah.
I felt a little duped. They didn't intend that. I will say clearly they didn't. That was not their intent. But maybe it was my fault for not knowing the details clearly. But moving on, we have that contrast. What are some other things that you heard from athletes out there? Again, we want to highlight the positives, and we also want to acknowledge some of the feedback that I think you got earfuls of, and I got earfuls of out there. But where would you like to go from here?
Contrary to an Andrew Hiller Instagram post, I did hear from a couple of other athletes that said, hey, the warm-up area was fine. It was large. You had what you needed. It didn't need to be super extravagant. People weren't, falling all over each other to get to one rower or one bike or one set of plates. So I did hear they gave, and being in there all the time, it was felt like, when you were on the other side in a corner on a pull-up bar, I mean, that was a heck of a distance. So you had plenty of space over there.
Completely agree. Warm-up space. I would say that this may have been the most accessible warm-up space we've had, as far as like what equipment was there for the workout that we were preparing for. Sure, on day 1, there was not quite as many plates as you would see for us to be doing snatches, but like I never had an issue. Like I never ran into like there was just there wasn't a lot. Not every single person had their own bar, but I think you and I are always used to that. We're always sharing and navigating that.
That's how you warm up.
I was afraid that there wouldn't be enough rowers on day 2. Since we were starting with a row, they would have 20 rowers out on the field. I was like, oh, I hope they have more than like 2 rowers inside. And there were plenty. In fact, what's really cool about Masters athletes is I remember when I was in line, so it would be like 1 or 2 people deep. You're waiting to get on rower. Again, no big deal with that. And someone would walk up and they'd be like, hey, I'm going in the next heat. Can I jump on this rower for 30 seconds? Yeah, no problem. Of course. I mean, we sort of did that. In fact, I did the same thing. I came over, was talking to some guys, and they called my heat, and they're like, hey, do you want to jump on this rower real quick? I know that's your heat. I was like, yeah, actually, I just want to kind of go max effort for like 30 seconds if that's cool. Like, I think masters athletes, we're all pretty like kind to each other, and we're
Yes.
conscious of what other people need. Plenty of echo bikes, because there was an echo bike workout as well. I don't even, I will say this, there were high quality boxes for box step overs, and there were some kind of beat up boxes for box step overs. I warmed up on both, but I assumed all of the best boxes would be out on the competition floor. And they totally weren't. The box I stepped on the competition floor was a soft box, super squishy.
Foot
Again,
didn't
whatever.
slide like it does on a wooden box.
Totally. Oh man, it was tough. But those kinds of things, that's not even a critique. So no, I agree.
Yeah,
that warm-up area was very decent.
That was fine. I think, as a compliment, I think from what I heard also were the athletes were pleased with how the events ran, but they wanted more. How do you say that? So like what you were given to compete with was adequate for right then and there. But looking at total overall, they're like, why couldn't we have done another couple, something like that?
I think we could park on this for a second. I agree, and I think literally every athlete I talked to, one of the first things they said was that the test was too thin, and we knew this the Friday before heading out there. They announced a workout, and then they also updated the master document at the same time. I believe it was on the Friday prior to the games, indicating that 45 and over would have 6 events, 44 and younger we're going to have 7 events. And oh my gosh, the text message storm that erupted.
I'm not dialed in like you were for this. How many messages did you get?
I mean, dozens, and not just. It was people. It wasn't anger. It was such kind of disappointment, right? It was this last minute reveal. Like, hey, you're packed up. You're going on the plane the next morning. There's no way you're changing your plans. There's guys that have come over from Australia and New Zealand and Asia, Europe to do this. And they're finding out now there's 6 events to find the fittest athlete. It was a tough pill, man. I'm generally pretty optimistic, and I'm always willing to critique or provide feedback afterwards. This was one of those times where, I'm on the athlete council, and it's a really nice privilege that I am on the CrossFit Athlete Council.
Right.
Just to let everyone know, there is a council meeting on August 14th, and the agenda was already going to be the 2027 games season for Masters and Divisional Games. This is literally already going to be the topic.
All right.
So it's just perfect timing.
You're starting early.
Yeah, we were already going to talk about it. Now we have the games to provide even some additional feedback. And I've obviously posted online on my story for athletes to send all of their feedback to the Athlete Council email address, which I believe is athlete.council@crossfit.com. That all goes through Becky Harsh. She's an HQ coordinator. She's been there forever. She's fantastic. And she is the one that processes those and then forwards those emails to the Athlete Council. So someone asked me today, how many emails have come through? I was like, none. I am sure that the team at CrossFit is probably taking a few days off right now. So I don't expect any of those emails to get through soon. But I tell you all of that to say that Becky has given me, she's like, hey, Jason, if you ever run into something and it's just kind of a WTF moment, and it needs to be something that you would like to share directly with CrossFit, as opposed to jumping on the socials and just getting loud about it.
Yes.
Right. I was like, shoot, I think we just had a WTF moment. So I it took a long time to craft a message about having 6 events and the contrast of Masters athletes having 6 or 7 events. Again, this contrast, 20 events to celebrate 20 years of the CrossFit Games versus 6 events for the majority of Masters athletes, which is the least we've ever had that I can recall. And honestly, since we've been on our own,
you'd have to go way way back, I think, and we could do that via the leaderboard.
Anyone could, and I was going to say the feeling that athletes had going from 10. So the goal of separating masters athletes from the games to give even more opportunity. And so when we were in Alabama for the first masters games, the divisions were pretty big. I think we moved to Columbus and we had 10 events there. In Columbus, there was even more athletes in those divisions accepted, 9 events. And then to have the athlete field get cut this year down significantly and remove that many events for whatever constraints, either their CrossFit constraints, Legends constraints, whatever the constraints are, was really tough for athletes to take in. Okay,
Now,
Rick.
let me ask you the emails that you want to have directed to them. It's not just about the games, but the season. Is that correct? Because
Yeah, that's
people might have some ideas on how
yes.
to, or just suggestions. We know the dates of the Open. They've
Yep.
been released this week, starting in February, but how qualification process works. Some people who are not qualifying but really want to attend an in-person semifinal. How is that going to, I'm sure the details aren't out yet, but if you have an opinion, that's where they want it directed. Correct?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
and we
It's
are not just addressing the games; we're addressing the
no,
season,
the
and
season.
it
And the
comes down to
season
like
incorporates a lot of people,
a
a
lot. It
lot of
does.
lists.
I mean, we're even talking about appropriate scaling for athletes across the board, right? From the Open quarterfinals, semifinals to the games, there should be some matrix, some standards on scaling. Like an example of scaling at the games this year that was frustrating for most of the athletes over 65 was scaling a handstand walk to an overhead dumbbell carry.
Mm-hmm.
That
Double
feels
double.
like scaling for the Open. But at the
Mm-hmm.
most elite level, the CrossFit Games, these athletes have prepared for handstand walks. And in 5-foot increments, I'd be hard pressed to think of very many of them that would not be able to do that, especially for a 50-point event. There's been times when athletes have to stand there because they can't do something. Haley Adams has done this multiple years in the games. She gets to a lift and she can't do it, and that's okay.
Correct.
She's still a games athlete, and it's
Right.
okay if a 67-year-old man can't do a handstand walk in one event that's a 50-point score, but he does everything else just fine. But also, we're talking about the games with scaling issues. Another issue that is certainly to be addressed is how many qualifying spots happen from certain individual in-person
Correct.
qualifiers. So, for
Correct.
example, at well, let's call it Legends, is the one I was at. You had 30 or 40 athletes in my division with 2 available spots. You also had 8 to 10 athletes competing at the French throwdown for 2
For
spots.
2 spots. Exactly.
So there's
To-
got to be some sort of weighting balance in there with the amount of qualifiers to an event and then the amount of spots. This is all, last year was year 1. There's tons to learn, tons to apply. And 2027 is not going to be the year that everything is fixed. But if
no.
incremental steps, the
But
low hanging fruit.
a good organization and good leaders in an organization should start to take the steps needed
Yes.
to fix some of the problems that are presented to them and not just ignore it. And we knew this year was going to be a little lumpy, and you're through it, and that's fine. But now you're getting lots of valuable feedback from your customers. So
Yes.
let's see what this new group of leaders there at HQ,
Yeah.
and then trickle down to the ones that run the in-person semis, because it's not just the Legends group, it's folks in Australia, Europe, and Latin America, and America
Yes.
here too. So
Yep.
there's a lot.
Totally agree. Other feedback that I received and I would agree with as far as this year's games. And it's funny, we haven't talked about the actual workouts, we haven't talked about the events, but there's maybe we'll touch on that, but I think it's there. Josh said this to me as well, and he said it's the small stuff that made the games this year feel small for masters. And what I mean by that is communication was really scattered. And in a professionally run event, there's deadlines and timelines that are created and shared, and there's typically one email address that this comes from. And one of the things that we've experienced over and over again from this particular team, and it's a critique on the Legends team, is that they are notoriously not great at communicating. whether that communication be via email. There was this living document that was delivered, well after it was promised to be delivered. And then it was like a living Google document. And Rick, if that was something that was used in your organization, it was really rough. It was a really rough document. And you'd get emails throughout the process leading up to the games and at the games from multiple email addresses. There was really no cohesive communication strategy. And then
Point of
even when you would
contact.
point of contact, just something like, if I get an email from this email address, this is action items. It's very scattered. And then the communication at the games was also, it's just a bit lackluster. If you,
Okay.
again, you think of the contrast between what you see at the SAP Center and what you see when you're getting welcomed for your athlete briefing. It's just such a contrast in the experience. And this is a critique. It could be done better. It's these small little things to make it feel professional, make these athletes feel like the professionals that they are when they walk in. And it's the small things that make such significant differences. And none of this is a critique on the volunteers, the judges, the people that are working the event.
The event staff.
Oh my God, they're
Yes.
amazing. And
Media.
media,
Hustling.
this thing went off without a hitch. Like, your barbells are loaded correctly. Anytime there was an equipment malfunction, they swapped stuff out. They moved really quick on this stuff. The judges were great.
Medical was on site and quick to respond. I saw one injury on a snatch for
Yep.
a younger age group than us, and they were on that athlete in no time flat. I mean, it was professionally run, without a doubt.
Professionally
I'm
run.
glad you said that.
When I have this, we habitually check competition corner to see where, to make sure that our heat time is still the same heat time. I don't know if you do that. I always do that. Like, I know what my heat time was when I woke up, but is it still the same? I have these panic attacks throughout the day, just checking, is it still the same heat time? And
you
you can just
check
count
over and over.
You check over, and you can count on it being correct. I mean, another small thing being small things. I can't tell you how many messages I got on Instagram saying, "Hey, when is the CrossFit Games leaderboard going to get updated? It's day 2. How come the leaderboard's not updated?" Because it's run through Competition Corner.
Correct.
And why is there a games leaderboard?
Correct.
Why even have that for Masters if we're going to use Competition Corner?
That's populated now after the fact. With
so
your
confusing
results,
for people,
but not during.
And this is a simple organizational piece where, if it's communicated to the public, watch your favorite athletes on Flow Elite, check the leaderboard on this, and you have to continually tell people where things are at. Now, there were other pieces of media that they did well. At the end of the day, you had the event winners posted, and CrossFit Games shared those collaborated posts. So I actually felt like CrossFit itself was more engaged this year than maybe we've seen in the past, being, they're sharing what's going on in our events, or at least invited as collaborators, and they accept those invitations. Same with the teens and the adaptive. Like, those are special, like, reels and videos and exceptional footage to be able to experience. Yeah. Now let's talk about media coverage. You had brought that up before the call. Thoughts on that? Did you get a chance to watch any of the coverage on Flow Elite?
I did, especially on Thursday when I was not there on site. So I pulled up my account and, I was able, again, for the listeners that weren't there or maybe didn't follow as much, men and women of the same age divisions generally went at the same time. So the cameras, at least multiple cameras, trying to catch men in the 50 to 54, who was leading, what's going on, and then a quick switch over to the ladies on the other side of the floor. Same event, same timer, but who's in the lead there? And the MCs did a nice job on the floor, 2 MCs, and they just ping-ponged it back and forth for the announcing. So as a an in-person spectator, it was very easy to follow. However, Flow Elite, I think it took a little bit of time on Tuesday's second event that was covered to get the flow of it. Wednesday was better, and then watching Thursday I thought was fine. I didn't see every athlete I wanted to see, but when in coverage do you get that? Unless the camera is going down each lane all the time. You don't.
You
It's
don't.
just the nature of competition. That's the thing. I
Even
watch a
even
NASCAR race and I don't know
yeah.
who's 30th, running
No.
30th right now, other than when they show the leaderboard along the left side. I mean, they're focusing on the lead cars. That's just sport.
It's sport, and that's I was impressed. I was just thinking about Bill Grundler and the other co-host who has done so many events and whose name I don't
Correct.
know. He's
Yeah,
got a great calling
such a
voice,
recognizable voice.
right? And I literally I met him in the hallway, and I was like, that's your
Yeah,
voice." Like you could
yeah.
hear it coming. And I don't know if it's English or if it's Australian. I mean, I hate that I don't know, but he's got a great voice, and
We'll figure
and
this
and
out next
Grundler,
time.
yeah, Grundler has worked these events for a lot. He knows us,
He knows the
and
athletes.
so when you're right, by day 3, they had really had that pretty dialed in. Of course, you're not gonna see everything, and they were going back and forth, and, if they could have held a split screen, the entire time, that would have been great, but for some reason they didn't, and it may not have been feasible. And Flow Elite is not they're not the ones providing the media. They're the ones facilitating the distribution. So this is a contracted team that does the
Hmm.
media, and they push that stream to Flow Elite. Just like at the indie side, there's a media company that comes with cameras to do the work, and and that is pushed either to YouTube or Flow Elite.
Or for Louis, right?
The thing I liked about Flow Elite, actually, because I didn't get to watch anything until afterwards, so I only watched replays the entire CrossFit Games, ours
Hmm.
and the individuals.
Individual, right?
I flew home Saturday night. We sat on the couch and we went back through the replays, and I could find 50 to 54 mixed. And here's heat 1, here's heat 2, here's event 3, heat 1, heat 2. It was great. So I literally went straight to my event. I could watch it. And I do enjoy reliving the play by play as they describe it. I'm like, oh, I remember that. It's really cool. They also knew the stories. Like they didn't
Yes,
pretend to talk about me the entire time during the final event. At the end, when I crossed the line, Jason Grubb, 7-time champion, that's great. But the real story on that event was Joey and Mike were battling for second. Whoever wins gets second place. And they knew that story and they were able to express that. And that is what makes it compelling and interesting to watch, because you want to know like what the actual stories are. So,
correct. There were a lot
you
of
know,
races that were open
so
up
many
through the last day.
races.
Yeah.
It was really it makes it more fun. I will say that in my video that I'll share, one of the things about this year was like part of the letdown, not letdown, but like when it's all said and done, I had to fight for my life the past few years at the games. Like every single point, every step, everything had to be flawless and perfect in order to win. And that's incredibly satisfying. Like the guttural explosion that
Hmm.
happens in the battle that you win at the very end. Versus this year, like I want to say when I walked off that last finish line, it was more like, whew, okay,
Relief.
it's okay. Yeah, total relief. Like I did a fist pump, but I would say that was almost a little bit manufactured. What I really felt inside was like step across the line, look over at my family, and just be like, whew, okay,
We did
onward.
it.
Like, and not to take anything away from the experience at all, but I was definitely a relief. But again, going back to that media side, there is always room for improvement, and that's always going to be something that's shuffling. And I had a number of conversations with the Flow Elite guys. I think they've got some cool things coming. It'll be an adjustment for the sport. They've signed multi-year contracts with CrossFit for both the divisional games as well as the indie games. So we'll see where
And
that progresses in the future.
I talked also to a couple of the folks there and came away really impressed.
Agree.
Easy to easy to like the team. You just want the best product put forward going, in future years, because these folks are good people, and it's a business, it's a contract, but they understand it, and it's not, for a lot of them, it's not their first exposure to the sport. Flow Elite has been involved in the CrossFit space for 10 plus years. So there's archived video out
There
there
is.
back there. Yeah.
In the
So
rewind, you're going all the way back. You're going back, way back,
yeah.
to
So
2014 or something.
they maybe those people aren't all there, but the company itself has a history of working with this sport. It's not just picking up, you know, collegiate wrestling and never having done it before, for
Right.
example. So
Right. and they're fans of the sport. I mean, these guys are
Correct.
fans. Raul is one of the when I say Raul is a great guy, and I mean, he was there. He knows all of us. He knows. I don't know
Yeah,
how he knows all of us,
absolutely.
but he knows us. He's fan.
Fan
He's a
of the
fan.
sport.
Rick, from a let's shift gears and maybe talk about the workouts for a second. Did you have
Okay.
a workout that you enjoyed the most to watch? Was there one that as a spectator you were like, oh, that was fun to watch? Did you have that
Gosh,
feeling? I
I
know
had
you
so
were only
many.
there, you were there for the last day, but
I know, but I had so many emotions with each of them because of the experience. The one that I did not, that I think I liked, it was maybe not the most exciting to watch, but it was most interesting to me, was the one I never tested, and that was the row handstand walk. People sitting on a rower for a few minutes isn't an exciting race, but when those judges' hands start to go up, then you're like, oh boy, here we go, and the clock's still running over there, and you see it ticking up 3, 4 minutes, and off comes the handstand walks, and watching each athlete go right into a handstand walk, or those athletes that took their deliberate time to regroup, catch their breath just a little bit, and then start. I mean, it was great to watch that event. It might not be the answer, but
I mean,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
that one may have been one of my most satisfying events. Like I knew I was going to win the handstand walk.
Hmm.
I think anybody in my division that saw what that it was as a two-part workout, they're like
Hmm.
handstand walk,
Two-part.
okay, let's just give that to Jason. Like oh, checkmate. Like I don't even need to compete in that one, and I win the event. It's just a skill that I have. It's like giving Guy Heroes like, hey, 1 rep max snatch, go. Although
Yeah.
Tudor Magna would
Steph.
give him a run, but like
Right.
he's just gonna
He
win that.
still beat him. Still
It's
beat him
just,
solidly.
it's just the way. It was that was insane. His race on snatches, it's truly remarkable. But I'll tell you, when I went into that event, Rick, this is event 3. I'm not in the lead yet. It's 50 points each, and I don't want to take like 4th or 5th or 6th on the row and win the handstand because it feels like all of this work will be for nothing. I will have gained
Right.
nothing if I
Right.
don't do well on the row. It doesn't matter if I win. Like it doesn't matter. It's a wash. And I was like, man, for me, this is an all out. I have got to crush this row. I held a pace for me. Again, there's some real strong athletes out there, but I held like a 131, 132 for most of this row.
And that was
It was
900, probably
900.
for you. 900.
Yep.
Okay.
And there was a couple of times when I stuck up to like 136. And once there was 200 meters left, I was ripping that thing as hard as I could, everything I had, because I knew this was going to come down to
Hmm.
seconds, maybe even milliseconds. This is
Yes.
just
Yep.
how a row goes. It's too short. And I know all the hands are going up because you saw all the hands
You.
go up,
Yep. And you
all
heard.
the judges. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm ripping, ripping, ripping. I hit my 900. I rack my handle. And believe me, Rick, as I'm unstrapping my feet, I'm looking left and looking right. And everyone else is rowing still. And I was like, I think I beat these guys on the row. And I got up and I just started handstand walking. So as far as like an output, it was awful. Actually, rowing that hard is truly awful feeling. But to win that event, you've got Jeremiah Head in there. That guy's huge. He can row. Joey is a monster. They can row. I've seen Joey row. I know
Mike
Mike
is
has
monster.
significant.
Yep.
He's got a
Yep.
huge aerobic capacity. Guy wins second place in the run. Now I'm rowing against him. He's got this great cardio, and there's a few unknown guys in there. The guy
Absolutely.
that won the run from Sweden, he's 13 feet tall, if
Yep.
not 14 feet tall, and he was 30 seconds ahead of anyone on the run. What's he going to do on the rower?
Correct. You're
So
looking at his body frame. You're like, boy, that looks like he looks like a rower.
yeah, I would have give him the win. Like checkmate, you win the row. I'll take the handstand walk. You take the row. Tall guy, great guy, by the way.
Ivan. Yeah.
So yeah, that you're right. There's an element of boring on a race like that, except you just wait for like 2.5 minutes and then you see all the judges' hands go up. And I was watching the other heats. I enjoyed that too. I was like, you're waiting on the edge of your seat. Where are they at? Now, obviously, like the rowers could have been attached to a screen. I've seen that at Wadapalooza. I've seen that at the games. That's really fun. It's okay that they didn't have that. I do think that for the handstand walks, you had no idea where people were at unless you were just
No.
watching one or
Once
two.
people started I was lost,
Just
completely lost.
you needed a flip, and that's a lot of workload for a judge who's actively counting handstand walks, but a little flip card somehow so that the fans knew where people were at. But it's the small things. It's the small things like that that could make the fan experience a little bit better. But you knew when people were off the rower, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, they fell
They had
over.
a number of events where you moved the barbell forward or you moved a chest piece forward. And
That's a great
that
storyteller.
it always gives a little bit more information to the audience, whether they're online or, it's the announcers can see that more clearly as well. Like whether you're watching TV or like my
Hmm.
family knew where I was at on the other workouts because you could see the chest piece moved or,
Hmm.
you know, uh, there was a barbell moving. But yeah, I want to think about my
Well,
favorite event was the
how about
final
your?
event.
Oh, okay. I was going to say not the 21-15-9
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't love
thrusters.
I mean, the
No,
burpees and thrusters was a sprint. Well, I will say that, I mean, we had 3 scores of 7 scores that were sub 3 minutes, if you wanna think of it. We have the thruster burpee workout, which was around 3 minutes or less,
hmm
depending on the athlete. You had the row event, which was around 3 minutes, and you have the handstand walking event, which is around 3 minutes.
hmm
Those are fast, and that makes scores really tricky. So that's stuff that stressed me out beforehand as a competitor, but like that one. But my favorite one was the last one where you have
hmm
DT and you
Yep.
have to complete 5 rounds of DT, but they did the classic Legends play where you've got an Echo Bike buy-in to this
Eh,
event.
correct.
And they did that last year with Echo Bike, handstand push-ups, Echo Bike, and double unders. The year before that, we had chest to bar,
Echo
double unders, and Echo Bike.
Echo
So
bike.
they've
Yep.
played with this interval style, and
Correct.
I really think if you want to test somebody's fitness, like true fitness, and maybe some barbell agility or gymnastics agility, whatever it is, if you mix an Echo Bike buy-in and then they have to go do that work under fatigue,
Correct.
that
Yep.
stuff makes me excited as a competitor. I love it in training. And so, Rick, I walked onto the floor on that last day for that event with a 100-point lead. Like, I don't need to do anything here. But it was
hmm
my favorite event. I was like,
Yep.
I'm going to go
Yep.
sell my soul on this thing because like I practiced it and it was hard, but I know I can do it in 2 rounds and let's see if I can win this one just for funsies
Well, I
because
I
I
will
just
I
loved it.
will keep a secret that will not go out, but let's just say the event changed in 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 its planning and its evolution, and I'm really glad it landed where it did because the first form would have been a little difficult to watch. I don't think it would have told as good of a story, and the way they put it together with the interval style, you knew there was probably going to be an interval style because that's what Legends does, and this was a good time to pull that out and use it, and I think it was used well at the right time.
Well, good. And I can't remember if we shared on an earlier show or not, but you were part of the testing team. You tested.
Hmm.
Can you tell us which workouts you tested and maybe share what changed, what didn't change? You don't have to reveal
Yep,
all of that, but just,
yep, yep, yep.
tell us what you were involved in.
I knew of the run in its current form, but I did not test it. Another tester did, and I did the 21-15-9, although with 21-15-9 of burpees and thrusters, so it was 18 extra burpees. The gymnastics piece in a form of that, the snatch, double under, and toes to bar in its form, and then 2 iterations of the final workout. So what
I
I
see.
didn't
Yep.
see was the row handstand walk, nor the one for the younger age group. There were some other testers that were
Yep.
working with them on
Yep.
the rope climb and the sandbag and the shuttle run.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it was wonderful to be a part of it. For those conspiracy theorists out there, Jason did not know, had no idea. He knew I was part of it, but not a word. And it's not like those workouts are gonna, trip you up there hard. But it's not
Not
like it was
not your
reinventing the
first
wheel.
rodeo. You've
Yeah,
done this before. You were part of the team in 2023.
23.
Was that
Yep,
correct?
in
Okay.
2023. Again, that was in person, and that was changing things on the fly. Rest an hour, come back. We're going to try it again this way. We're going to do that, and it was 5 days of you are just ground to a stump. It was worth it, completely worth it. But it was a little bit earlier in the process as there were some more changes that were made. This was still a couple of months ago, but a lot of them landed roughly where they were when us, the testers, were working with them, with the team. So
It
it
is
was
interesting
excellent.
because you were testing and there was a handful of testers out there. And what's fun about Rick, to our audience, Rick works in an industry that requires significant amount of integrity, to say the least. Whether you work for the CIA or you actually work in banking, we still don't know, Rick. But either
It's
way,
not
the
known.
level of integrity is ultra high. And there's been. I remember in 2023, I was like, "So, Rick, should I bring a swimsuit this year?"
Yes. Yeah.
And he is like, "Yeah, you might." And Rick, should I bring my running shoes? Well, yeah. I mean, those are
When
good for
don't you
running.
run?
You
I mean,
gave
come
me
on.
nothing. I mean, I tried even being silly. Like, should I wear sunscreen? Do I need to bring goggles? Whatever the jokes were, I knew I was never cracking you. But I was still gonna beat you down as much as I could to try to get anything. And I know better now. I said, Rick's not going to crack. And I don't want to know. In fact, I'm with Justin LaSala. He's one
Yep.
in Masters Chatter in his
Yeah.
podcast or their podcast. He is
He is
very
adamant.
clear. Don't tell us anything until the day of. And I'm
It
down with
was
that. I don't tell us.
okay, everybody, you can look at your device, you can look at your phone now. The workouts have been released. That was my
Great.
experience.
Yes.
And still, they held back the final event until maybe a couple of days in or something like that.
But there was
You
still,
just,
I mean, you could
I
have
love
touched it.
that.
I love nothing. Tell us nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is literally personal preference. For others, I get it. It's nice to get a feel for something. But I tested all of the workouts that were
Mhm.
released, and most of them at like 90 to 100%. I don't want to do that. I want to go out and have to figure this out on the fly. I had a breakup strategy for the gymnastics event that had pull-ups, chest to bar muscle-ups with dumbbell box step overs in between. I had a plan for that because I practiced it, and I
Mhm.
literally did it the exact same way in competition and did well on the event. But I would love to have not had that and have to figure out
On
with
the
a
fly.
few hours of
Yep.
notice, like,
Yep.
okay, let's see, I'm going to break it. How would I approach this? You got to break these up, right? I mean, just literally frantically
Sure.
talking with others.
Sure.
That is that is the unknown. That's what we love about CrossFit, the unknown element of that. The
Now, if
known, tell us we're going to do a 4-mile run. That's fine. No one's changing a 4-mile run, but the unknown, leave some of that stuff up
but
to,
see, the individual athletes somewhat had that experience this year. I
yeah,
mean, they knew a good number of events. But every day I would open up my phone and look and say, individual event 12 and 13 is this, this, and this. And it's the day, it's, one day prior, they're getting it
yep,
for the next day. I mean,
let's
now
do that.
granted, they're super busy and their days were long with a lot of events, but they didn't have a lot of time to
No,
work on that other than talk with their coach on some
yep.
strategy.
And when we were in Madison, there were maybe they'd release 1 or 2 events, and then we would see just before the briefing the night before,
Boom.
they would publish
Yep.
the events, and we'd look and be like, "Oh my god, are you kidding me? Are we doing double unders on the grass?"
Yep.
That
Yep.
was 22
2021.
maybe,
21.
21.
Yeah.
Those were some wonderfully stressful times, great events. They demanded a lot of the athletes because we had an athlete briefing every night because they'd
Correct.
go through the events of the next day, but you'd have to stay there and wait for the briefing that night, which was super
There's the
inconvenient.
downside. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you did that, or if you did that briefing now, you could easily do that briefing virtually.
Correct.
We could be
Sure.
at home eating meat salad and have the iPad open, right? And watch the briefing. Nothing wrong with that. But I think athletes at the games are ready to have significant demands on their time, their bodies, their
Mhm.
sleep. All of those things are fair game for that 3 or 4 days. The rest of the year, let's have convenience. But at the games, put us through the ringer, please.
Because you're being tested. You're not at work
Yes.
that week. Most people have traveled a great distance to be there. Very few hometown folks happen to land exactly where the games are.
Yep.
And so you just know going into that competition week, this is what I have prepared for. And it's going to be
Right.
uneven and it's going to be,
Yep.
you're going to feel out of sorts and you're not going to sleep the best, maybe, and you're not
Right.
going to feel like eating. And I don't know what this next event is because they haven't told me.
Yep.
I mean, that's
I'm gonna have a
just
bag. I'm gonna have a bag ready for anything. I've got my lifters, my knee
Rope?
I've got
Yeah.
everything in this bag ready to go. This year, it was the lightest travel I ever needed. I didn't need lifters. I had shoes, a jump rope, and a lifting belt and grips.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Grips.
literally all we needed this year, or for me. And it fit in my carry-on. Like I literally had it over my shoulder as I traveled out there in case everything else is lost.
Always
I have
have
my
what you
grips.
need in your bag.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have my grips
Correct.
and my jump rope. I can buy shoes. I can buy, I don't know what else. I could buy a belt if I needed a belt, but otherwise we're pretty good.
I'm still, for those that aren't listening but watching, I'm still dealing with my hand from not
Wow, Rick.
having grips and train. See, I need
Not
my
good.
grips.
Got to have grips. Well, I think we'll call that. I think we'll call that. If I was to summarize, I was drafting
Yes.
all of this. I was thinking through these little bullet points. There's plenty more for us to share, but we don't need to go into everything. I think if we had an ask for CrossFit about Masters athletes, we could say something like this. We're not asking CrossFit to make Masters equal to the individuals. We're asking CrossFit to make it worthy of the game's name. That's all, right?
Okay. And
We don't
how
need to
you
be the
answer
same.
that is important.
It is, yeah, and as that feedback comes in, we'll do everything we can to share with CrossFit what are the most important things to make the games feel like the games for Masters, and then turn it loose. They don't have to act on anything. They don't have to do anything, but we are their customer. We are the
Correct.
ones that go to their gyms, that train, that pay for the open, pay for quarterfinals, pay for semifinals, and we do it gladly. This is not even a sacrifice. This is what we are thrilled and make it great. That's all.
If I'm not mistaken, it was more to go to San Jose this year than any of the previous few years. Yeah.
So
Now,
expensive on everybody.
quarterfinals and the Open, those
Yeah.
prices were the same.
Yeah.
So that's the pay to play.
Yeah.
But the games, I heard a lot of people say like, "Ooh,
500.
it's kind of
Wow.
expensive this year." Yeah,
Really
it's a little
expensive.
expensive this year. Right.
500. I mean,
So
people were like, yeah, 500 for 6 events, 3 shirts, 3 shorts. That's pricey. It's not that. It is an event. We'll gladly pay.
We'll talk
We
more.
just want it to feel like the games. So
Absolutely. And I will say one last thing here. It was great to meet a lot of you that say you do listen, and we appreciate that. There is a couple that I do want to say thank you to. I had a great exchange. You were talking to this couple, and
yes.
I sat down. I didn't know you were talking to them previously. You and I then watch a couple heats and time to go. Gina's grabbing the boys. We're okay. We're out of here. We're bouncing. And the couple turns around and goes, "You're the other voice," pointing at me. We have 2 listeners, at least from New Zealand,
Yes.
that listen, and it was very nice to meet them. And thank you very much. I've never had somebody turn around and go, "Oh, you're that voice." So they knew Jason.
It was so
fun.
random. I sat down and they looked at me and they're like, it happened to be red. They're like, "We're Boulder athletes." I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're in New Zealand." So it's like tomorrow and a half already. They're like, "Oh yeah."
Right.
They're the ones that do all the workouts first. They'd be the first ones to log scores. So super fun. And they're like, "We also watch everything. And we listen to your podcast. Our friends listen to the podcast. And then you came and sat down." It was like their dream come true.
I didn't know that conversation.
You didn't know. They were like, "How did we get?" And I actually asked them, I was like, "Can I take my picture with you?" Like, "Oh my God, you asked us to take a picture with you." And these sweet accents, very sweet people. But the fact that I sat down and they're a big fan of what we do, and they're a huge fan of you as well. And you happened to come sit down right then too. It was a super cool experience.
It was hilarious.
Hello to our New Zealand fans.
Yes.
At least 2, maybe a few more.
So when you'll be listening to this, we have no idea because I don't do time zones very well at all.
It's somewhere in the future already for them.
Especially crossing the date line, and I don't get all that. So.
Totally.
Thank you.
All right,
and
Rick,
congratulations again to you.
They say performance has an expiration date. But what if they're wrong? No matter where you start, the goal's the same: to be better, stronger, wiser, bolder. We're here for the relentless, those that don't back down, don't compromise, and don't quit. This is training for Masters athletes by Masters athletes, with a community that holds you steady. So say goodbye to random workouts, because whether you're stepping into following a program for the first time or stepping onto the podium, your journey starts here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.